Go.
Hey Jay,
We're on episode 2.
we made it to two.
Made
I
it to
can't believe
2.
it.
Made it to 2. We got
Wow. We're number one in the number two business.
that's so bad. That's
It's so bad. It's so good. So we were just talking about how we had such a great reception from the first that
yeah.
maybe we could double our followers from 5 to 10.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
especially since 4 of those are probably us and family members.
Absolutely. And it's our retirement plan. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, on the rate of 5 per episode, we should be able to retire right around 80.
okay, that sounds about right already. That's
Yeah.
the track I'm on. So
Same. I'm just, one day I'm going to be like, yeah, so I'm 82 and oh.
stop.
And then they'll come and they'll revive me and I'll be like, oh, I'm fine. Let me get back to work.
You coming in today?
I still got yeah. I tell you what, my boss is a real bastard.
I've heard. I've heard he's a real asshole.
I tell you what, I don't know if you saw on Facebook, but somebody had mentioned how they like HR had not approved their time off. So like or the boss didn't, and so they went to HR and then HR rejected it. And I was like, I'm so with it, man. I ask for time off all the time. My boss is like, no, like you're not hitting your goals this year, man. So I'm like, then I go to HR and I'm like, hey, like, I feel like this isn't fair. We need we talk about work-life balance all the time in this company.
Oh yeah.
And then HR is like, shut up, shut the hell up and get back to work. You're not hitting your goals. Like, so I just work with a bunch of incompetents.
Yeah, I've heard.
Mhm.
Like your Led Zeppelin shirt.
Oh, thank you.
I do not care for them.
That's
Awful. I'm more Pink Floyd.
no, I don't like Pink Floyd.
Uh, I
Okay.
saw them at Carter Finley Stadium in Raleigh, and this
Mhm.
is back when we had paper tickets.
Mhm.
And the guy I was dating at the time bought us tickets for it, and he was just a pathological liar. I was ready to break up with him, but I was like, oh shit, we've got Pink Floyd tickets. So I can wait another week. So we all go to the concert. We get separated. It's literally the best show I've ever seen in my life. Come out, he's standing at the car. He said, I lost my ticket. I was been out at the car the entire time.
You're
I
like,
said,
I
oh,
enjoyed
well,
it.
by the way, we're breaking up. But
Yeah.
thanks for the concert.
You are ruthless.
Yeah. That's my middle name, like subtle and demure.
So is this the same tactic as like, I have a lot of girlfriends. Like for whatever reason, I connect with women. And I remember in college,
Because you're hot chocolate.
well,
Well, now I call you lukewarm chocolate.
lukewarm, Black Santa. I appreciate
Olivia only refers to you as Black Santa now.
it's Blanta. Let's get it right.
Blanta.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So you have lots of girlfriends.
Well, not friends that are girls, right?
Right.
Right. Because my wife might listen to this and I don't want to, have to explain that. But yeah, all my life. And I remember in college, they'd be like, well, let's go to the bar. And someone would be like, well, I don't have any money. They'd be like, well, you don't need money as a woman.
Nope.
And I'd be like, well, I'm not. But how about this? How about I'll go with you and you can let me like sip like on your leftovers or something. I don't know. Because I don't have any money and I don't have the talent or skill that you have. But yeah, I'd sit there and watch guys come over and be like, can I get you a drink? They'd be like, yeah, please. Yeah, sure. I'll have this and that. And, he'd start going down a path of like, trying to make some moves. And they'd be like, yeah, that's nice. So anyway,
Exactly. I love that.
it's not fair.
Okay, so we had really good reception.
Mhm.
I did want to tell you that you said something in our first podcast that will stay with me forever. And several people actually messaged me and felt the same way when we were talking about our daughters and their mental health crisis. Um, you actually said that you are a combat veteran,
Mhm.
which a lot of people don't know. And I have immense respect for our veterans, and you're one of my best friends. So thank you for your service. But you said that it paled in comparison
Mhm.
to the helplessness and the fear that you felt for your daughter.
Hmm.
I think that was so powerful and resonated with so many people. So even if we never do a third podcast, which is asinine, we're absolutely will, that really stayed with people and you made a difference. Thank you for
Oh,
sharing that.
well, thank you. No, I appreciate that. I think that, I mean, certainly, being in a combat situation, right? There are emotions and you're dealing with loss, you're dealing with, you know, almost like self-sacrifice, right? Like you want your people to come home and
Mhm.
you're and that's one of the beautiful things about our military is everybody thinks it's about apple pie and the Constitution and that you're running into battle going, democracy and it's not. You're like,
A republic.
these are my people and I care about them. Like you're working for each other. Like it's not about the apple pie. You're not like, oh, let's go in harm's way. Apple pie, it's like you're doing everything you can um to protect your people and to not fail them. And that's something that I think a lot of people who haven't been in the military or around the military, they may not realize is that, you know, like any corporation, right? Like they'll have their values and mission and corporate statements and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, if you have like a really high performing team with lots of camaraderie, like they're really doing it because, yeah, they have a passion for maybe what that organization is doing, but they're doing it at a higher level because they're accountable to each other. And that's one of the things I learned in the military. So, that's all very clearly defined. And, but yeah, when you're dealing with your child, um, and you're helpless, like you're not helpless in combat, like you're trained,
Right. You've
there's
been
a
taught the skills,
plan,
how to navigate.
yeah, you have the skills, you have the support, you have at least back when I was in, I mean, it was like for every one, combat person, there's like 8 support staff, intelligence, food, logistics, blah, blah, behind them. Um, yeah, in our situation, I mean, you and I were talking during, Olivia's time, and it was like, what the hell do we do? We're not trained on this. What are our options? What are the things out there? And I thought what was really cool and unique is she went to military school, right? Like
Yeah, I will never forget either. I told you that we were going to send her to military school. And I said, I really hope this helps. And you said, Jen, they've seen 1,000 Olivias. And
mhm.
that comforted me. So thank you.
Yeah, well, no, my pleasure. I mean, and I'm glad if that helped others, our conversation helped others. I mean, that's
I bet it did. And I have had grown men actually message me that it was heartbreaking for them to hear.
hmm yeah, same.
So I think our purpose for the podcast is one, to catch up once a week finally and have some fun, but make a difference too, just in being real and candid. So
I was talking to somebody earlier today that had listened to the last one, and we were talking about the fact that part of this is listening to two um, adults, which I have to question that with us, but
me too.
two
Sometimes I'm like, I'm the adult here. Oh my God.
what no taking on these just kind of different topics that are surrounding all of us and having a conversation. I was like, I mean, do people really want to sit and listen to, Jen and Jay rap about different things? But it's like, yeah, I mean, because, if you turn on the news, it's about dividing. I don't care, left, right, news, whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like divide, you have
And excuse
conversations.
me, I'm going to interrupt you for a minute. I went to the Y and worked out, and now I don't have to post that every time on Facebook. But anyway, I'm on the treadmill, and there's 5 TVs, and there's CNN, and there's Fox, and all these talk shows. And the division is insane. It's Trump is Satan, Kamala is an angel, or reverse. There's no happy medium like we talked about before. It's all one-sided.
Yeah. And I
So I
think,
left the gym. I thought that's enough working out.
well, we need to work on that. But
Yeah.
I need to go to the gym, so I have nothing to say. Yeah, I mean, and I think as people, I mean, you look on social media and it's like somebody will be entrenched in their bubble and they'll be like, everything you're saying in your bubble is a conspiracy or a lie or it's just wrong. And then this bubble's saying, no, everything that you're saying is conspiracy and a lie. And like, man, where's just the conversation? Where's the common sense, right? Like,
Yes.
for me, like I listen to all of them as much as I can stand because sometimes I just get in a bad mood. I'm like, I really think that like the news is like there to make us angry. And we've become such an angry society. Like we get pissed in a heartbeat.
Very much so.
Like instead of doing that, man, okay, well, uh, so the COVID thing, right? Like people are like, I'm unvaxxed and all this news came out, we were right. And it's like, and this side is like, no, the data and stuff you're talking about, it's wrong. And it's like the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? Probably.
I
And
completely agree with that. I told you during COVID, because I tend to be more on the I don't believe in shutting everything down side.
Mhm.
And someone came on my thread and said, I'd like to see the list of all the people you'd like to see die. And I thought, who says that? And so I told her I had a list and I knew who was at the top of it now, but
Yeah,
she didn't like that very much. Mm,
well, welcome to my list.
right.
And
And
yeah,
that's just hateful.
who says that? And why and how do we get there to that point, right? Where look,
Keyboards, hiding
keyboard.
behind them.
I think you're right, but I mean, you are right in that, and I think
Wait, can you say that again?
right,
Yeah.
right on this one, on this one.
Okay.
No, but I mean, you're right. I mean, we get people sit behind their Facebook or whatever they're using, and just say all these things. If you probably put us in a room, people will be a lot more cordial about their stance.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's just, now you can do this. But like, half the time, sometimes when people say like, nasty things to me, I'm like, okay, well, I'm a lover, not a fighter. But if we were to be in a room, like, how would this conversation really go? Would you
Completely different. Yes, face to face.
blast me like this? But yeah, I think that so the problem is when you don't get out of your bubble, then you're just closed-minded. And then the thing that gets me is it's like, one group will be like, yeah, Fox said this, Fox said this, Fox said this, and another group would be like CNN or whatever, says this, that, and that, and everything else. It's like, well, are you watching the two and then figuring out like also going to other sources and
Right.
you know,
I, I don't watch either. I get my news from many different sources. I do prefer the BBC.
I do too.
Social media, shockingly, sometimes is good. But one thing I do want to mention, and it weighs heavily on me sometimes, is that, again, I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on, but I feel that the powers that be own the information. So even if someone's like, Google it, I
Hmm.
don't, I still don't completely trust it. I,
Nor,
I, I have to look at it very discerningly.
but
And,
see, that's the
and
difference.
that is really fueling that division in that you could post something from Snopes or from Google or from Wikipedia, which my God is actually editable. Um,
Mhm.
that is very frustrating to me because the truth, I feel like, God, what is that show with Scully?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel like the truth is out there.
Well, I am skeptical and then trained to be a skeptic. So I did counterintelligence in the military, right? I mean, some of that dealt with misinformation,
I've
information.
been called counterintelligent before.
Yeah. By who? There should be number two on.
One time.
It should be number two. You have to share your list with me. We probably have some common.
Okay.
Yeah.
It grows by the day, honey.
But doing that kind of work, you start to see like how the forces of the world work and how they use
Yes.
information and how they use, the cracks and stuff like that. And so a lot of times when I started seeing like a real separation and division in the media and, going from just reporting the news to trying to drive a narrative, to me it lined up with the same things you would do in like psychological operations or counterintelligence. Um, and I was just listening to another podcast the other day, and this person was talking about like certain laws that we have where you can't do misinformation campaigns against our own citizens, but those laws over time got reversed, and now and that was sort of the start of then manipulating the media, investing in media, creating a liberal and a conservative media and all this other stuff to feed narratives. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of people, and to your point, like you Google things, so social media, it has an algorithm. So it knows if you are liberal, conservative, or this or that. And
Yes.
so it's just going to continue to feed your echo chamber versus looking for all different viewpoints and then having your own brain to then
Right.
make your own decision on based on what all is out there, right? So but we just sit and fight. And
Yeah. And it gets us nowhere. And a great example of that is the hurricane in Western North Carolina. I feel like there's misinformation on both sides. Again, the truth is somewhere in the middle. What I'm hearing from people on the ground is completely different from what I'm hearing from other sources. And I just think people need to be discerning and use common sense. And again, I think most of us all have the same hearts and we don't want people to suffer and we want the same thing. So arguing online changes nothing. Nothing. I personally don't get into it with people online. They could, number one, they could be a child, which I don't want to destroy a child most of the time. But the other thing, I mean, they could think that Nickelback rocks. I just don't know where this person is coming from. So there's there's that.
well, it's interesting that you brought that up about
Nickelback,
not Nickelback. I couldn't
your
even
favorite band?
wouldn't know a song. I'm wearing what's up.
Creed.
Um, the thing that I thought was scary this week with the hurricane, the hurricane situation out west and everything is there was information going around that FEMA wasn't doing anything. FEMA was hoarding water and food. FEMA, was not doing it. And I will admit, like I was hearing that from the more conservative outlets, right?
I saw it too.
And so I don't know if you saw this, but a guy read that, started posting about how people needed to go to the FEMA camp, take it over and distribute the supplies and save people and all this other stuff. He goes to the FEMA camp armed,
Oh, lovely.
and when he shows up, realizes that was all not true. They were out there distributing things or working their asses off. And so he put his guns up and went and volunteered to help. Like they need volunteers, right?
Now I didn't see that.
But because of what he had posted and because he showed up armed and somebody identified him as like one of the posters saying attack FEMA camps, he was arrested, of course.
Okay, so I did hear about a man being arrested.
It was that
Okay,
guy.
so that was him.
And so I read his statement afterwards, and that's where he was talking about, well, this is what we were being told. And I went down there with, and this kind of goes to your good heart. Like, I do think people have good hearts. There are some evil people out there. I'm gonna run into,
Oh, absolutely.
but your heart could be in the wrong place based on what you're hearing, right? So he
Yeah,
had a good heart, thinking these people are suffering. The government is doing oppressive stuff. So
yeah.
I'm going to put myself in harm's way to try to help people. But then what he wrote, like in his statement, was what he did. He was like, but then I realized that was wrong, and it was misinformation. And so then I was like, well, I'm here. The best I want to help people, so I'll volunteer with FEMA. And in some ways, I was like, well, I hope his comments get out there so that people back off. And then this morning, I saw that they had the same situation happen in Tennessee with a militia group that is organizing to go attack FEMA. Now, FEMA, when they do that, they go on lockdown and they do stop supporting people. They have to
Well,
protect themselves,
naturally, I mean, it's
right?
safety.
They have
Yes.
to they have to save themselves. So all last week, FEMA was slowed down because of this misinformation. And then you have people here who believe wholeheartedly that, the government is here to do evil to us and they're ready to fight and they organize their militia. And it's like, man, how the hell did we get here? Like if they just reported the news, then I think we'd be okay. Like, hey, here's FEMA at this camp working, right? Like, I saw the helicopter. I don't know if you saw that video of the helicopter that was trying to that flew over a FEMA camp, and
I
it
did.
okay. So like as soon as that came out, like I got all kinds of messages from different people, and they were like, look, this is an example of the government trying to ruin the safety efforts and all this other stuff. And like I was looking at the helicopter, and like I wrote back to people, I was like, well, I've been around a lot of helicopters, and I've been around helicopters that are trying to get to, a site that maybe you've quickly hastily put together as a supply
Right.
depot, and they're hovering around and they're trying to find like where they can safely land and do what they need to do. And I was like, I said I think this helicopter is just trying to land. Now granted, like they were probably like oopsie, like
Right.
let's back off. And then and they were like, no, this is the government. And then it was like all over X or Twitter or whatever. And then a few days later, it was the North Carolina National Guard. They were like, yeah, they were looking for a place to land. That was an accident. They didn't mean to do that. Like they had supplies. They were just trying to figure out where to put the supplies. Like people don't understand probably the chaos that happens in these situations. And so I kind of looked at that situation as like, well, I've seen this in combat where it's like we need supplies ASAP and we're here and the helicopter can land over there. But like, somebody dropped all their backpacks over there. Now the helicopter's like, now what? And they're going to circle and they're maybe taking fire, right? Like,
But back to
so
your comment, you said, some people are just like the government is messing everything up. And that's what I think. I feel that they are way too big and they make things way more difficult than needs to be. Um, I do know, and it is my understanding that they opened up showers for people in Western North Carolina and wouldn't let them go in because they didn't have flip flops. So, what are you supposed to do when there's no flip flops? And there's actually a realtor who arranged to get thousands of flip flops delivered. But
mhm.
that's not government working for us. That's asinine.
Though that is, sometimes I do try to be careful when I throw stones because again, just experiencing rapid emergency situations. Now, what I will say is in that scenario, it sounds like poor planning, right? Like, so, you have people, at least from when I was in the military, you plan and plan and plan and you war game so that and my job was always to be the enemy. Like that was my role in intelligence was here's the, our US plan or, unit plan for executing this. Jay, come tear it apart, right? Like, and then you would tear it apart and you'd be like, okay, now let's fix the flaws, tear it apart. And you iterate so that you get to the point where you're like, if we're going to have showers, we don't want people's funky feet in there and a spread of
Yeah, you know how I feel about feet too. Ugh.
ugh,
Ugh.
foot diseases, right?
Ugh.
So you don't want that because then that causes another compound issue. So,
Right.
somewhere in that planning, you would think that, if you are a FEMA strategist or whatever in that organization, that you would be thinking of every line and crack and nuance of a plan. And so I do think based on what on that example that that's just piss poor planning that somebody didn't take the time to think through, okay, if we're going to have showers, we need to also issue shower shoes to people. Let's have a stack of shower shoes out there, as they're coming in the military when you're deployed. It's part of your packing list is shower shoes. Because we had the same rule. Like you couldn't go into a common, field shower with your funky ass feet with, you know,
Understandable. But
and
I've
so,
seen the same thing in public schools. When Olivia was in elementary school, I was on the PTA.
yeah, I remember that.
And first of all, I remember, excuse me, at open house manning the PTA booth.
Hmm.
And I could not believe how many people, grown adults, came up to me and said, what's the PTA? I mean,
Hmm.
how do you not know what the PTA is?
Hmm.
And where I'm going with this is that we would sit there and we know that our public schools are poor. They are not well funded. Okay. They may be well taxpayer funded. However, the money is not used wisely. Um, they were trying to get laptops and all this stuff in the schools, which we were going to fund. But in order to get them all set up, someone who was certified through Guilford County Schools had to do this, this, that. There was so much red tape. And by the time we got to the very end where all the laptops would be set up, it was tens of thousands of dollars.
Hmm.
And it's just so frustrating trying to fight that machine because we had everything. By the time they were going to get everything set up, it'd probably be obsolete the way that technology is now, anyway.
Yeah.
So I just see it day to day, and it frustrates people, you know.
I I do agree. I mean, so in this, my head kind of goes two directions. I agree with you that government's gotten bloated, the bureaucracy gets in the way. You know, anytime you have like super long career people, there are really good ones, and then there are ones that
Oh, yeah,
government space are, they're just like, hey, as long as I don't screw up, I can retire and I'll get my pension and
exactly.
all this stuff, right? And so there's loads of inefficiency um, in how things are. It's bloated.
Well,
It's
you know this, the VA hospital,
uh,
they're all tenured. I actually had a client who was a VA doctor, and I asked her about it. I said, that really concerns me for our veterans, their health care. She told me that everyone from the janitor to the surgeons are tenured. Tenured.
mhm. Yeah, it's government
That's
work.
insanity.
It's part of the bloat. And one of the things that I think people they're a little freaking out about, and I would have to know more, right? Like I don't know Trump. I met
Oh, I do. We're best friends.
I met him in Indiana and got to shake his hand. He was walking in a hotel room. We were doing a big meeting, and he just pops out of a door. And I was like,
Ah.
it was when he was running for candidate. I was like, "Yo, what's up, Trump?" He was like, and I shook his hand. But he when he was talking about like draining the swamp and all this stuff, like that actually resonated with me. I was like, okay, well, if he's talking about the bloat of bureaucracy and finding efficiencies and you
Mhm.
know, taking like you look at like the military industrial complex, right? Like, I mean, we have ships that are supposed to have been built years ago, they're not
Mhm.
delivering billions of dollars, like all these things, right? Like I tend to think, and this is just my limited view, because I don't know, you get behind the curtain, all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, okay, this makes weird sense. But I'd want to sit down with those folks and be like, look here, paid you billions of dollars. I'm supposed to have a ship, four ships out there right now that do these things, and you can't do it. Like, I'm going to start penalizing you. I'm going to start doing this and stuff. But then that's when you start to get to, yeah, but inadvertently, I kind of get benefits from this business, so it's okay.
Right.
And so there's too much of that kind of just bureaucracy and mixing of personal personal wealth, from politicians and things like that, that I think
Which we're seeing
caused
now with
this.
the campaigns. Think of the millions, if not billions of dollars being spent on campaigning
Hmm.
for a
Hmm.
position of power when that money could be used for so many wonderful things.
Yeah, all the waste and everything else that happens. So yeah, I mean, I think that's where I'm just probably like everybody else. I have a healthy distrust of the government, and I don't have a lot of confidence in their ability to execute. I remember when the Affordable Care Act happened, and the website and all this other stuff just was crashing from like the get-go. And like I said, I have two sides of my brain, where I've also worked on things where it's like, let's get the minimal viable product out there and iterate. Things are going to break, but we iterate, and I'm cool with it. Like, I'm actually really comfortable with that. But at the same time, it's like, what who got that contract? Who did
Right. And affordable for whom? Not affordable for me.
right, right. Well, yeah,
So,
it's but
a whole nother podcast.
so we definitely, I could go on and on about healthcare. But yeah, so whoever bid and won the just building the website, right? Like, the damn thing crashed on day one. I've been a part of government bidding with my business, and being a veteran-owned business, I'm supposed to get like certain, not preferential treatment, but you get like moved ahead in a bucket, right? Like it's
I
a
love that. I like it.
veteran
It's the
benefit.
least we can do for our veterans.
And you get that as a woman-owned business, right? Like that, like it's to try to, put you in a position where you can gain that wealth, and and then help your family, whatever. And you know, every time I go through that process, uh I end up seeing who wins, and it's some big established company, not veteran owned, not women owned. And then so I've sat through some webinars on how to like break in, and it's like, well, maybe you need to partner with that company and all this other stuff. And it's like, no, like once they find their favorite, they stick with their favorite. They don't. And so the government has missed their goal for years on supporting veteran owned businesses,
Mm.
but we truly don't have power. There's some groups that try to organize. They go to DC and they're like, look, you're way off your goal. We have all these qualified businesses. There are probably a zillion veteran businesses that can build websites, right? Like, did they win the contract, or was it the person that did the website for a campaign,
Right.
somebody's campaign, right?
Yes.
So yeah, there's
It's a big machine.
it's a big machine. And I wonder though, like, all right, but at the same time, like that's our economic system too, right? Like,
It is. And as glib as it sounds, I feel like just talking about this is our conversation in the past 20 minutes is not something that you see on social media at all. And I like that. I like that part of our podcast, to be honest.
yeah, I do too. And I think, for some people, like I'm in a blessed place, right, where I can speak from like my intelligence experience, or global experience, or being a veteran-owned company, trying to navigate all that. But a lot of people aren't, and that's where they have to just don't accept the first thing that you're told. Use your brain, do your own research, and don't
Yes.
just take the sound bites from your favorite news or your favorite person that you're following on X. And do your own thinking, do your own research, because there's a million and one things that I don't know about. I can speak opinion, and I'll just be clear, like, hey, this is my
Right.
opinion, but I don't. That's why sometimes I caveat things, like, from where I sit today and the knowledge I have, this is what I think. But I might think differently once I'm behind the curtain. So I think we talked about on the last one, like that was a Vivek, guy. I remember during his campaign, he was like, I'm gonna defund the CIA, the FBI, and all these intelligence services. And I was like, no, you're not. You're going to get your first
There you
security
are.
brief. You'll get your first security brief and be like, holy crap. Please keep that.
So let's talk about people idolizing politicians. Okay, one of my favorite quotes, and I said it this week, and it has cracked me up, is that Washington is basically Hollywood for ugly people. And it's so true. It's just a bunch of actors that are messing with our lives, basically. But I can't believe on social media some of the people that just idolize these politicians. I saw a bumper sticker in my special person's parking garage, and it said, "If I die, please tell Joe Biden that I love him." And I thought that is the most dramatic bumper sticker I've ever heard in my life. What about your kids, your dog, your sister, your husband? Joe Biden, he doesn't even know who you are. And this is across the board for me. People that absolutely idolize these people.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
disturbing.
Well, on the way out of the neighborhood, and here's the thing, I don't give a shit who you vote for. That's your right. So,
I
but I
don't
don't,
either. And it's a two-party system again. I
yeah,
mean, two polar opposite candidates. And to hear people say, well, if you vote for Trump, you're a bad person. Well, give me a better fucking choice. This is our biggest and best.
they
Really,
have.
America?
They gave
Give
you
me a break.
they gave you Kamala.
Yes. Boy, did they ever.
So, on the way out of the neighborhood, there's a guy that has probably at least 30 signs in his yard that he's handmade uh,
Oh,
around
vacation.
Trump. He's got a huge MAGA sign, he's got flags, he's got it all. And it's like, man, this guy has made MAGA his whole personality. And
Thank
you
you.
see the same thing, right? For all the politicians. I'm not dumping on MAGA by any means,
No, yes, I've seen the same on both sides.
but it's like, well, like, don't you have, like, but I think, and I could be wrong, but people like to be identified with things for the most part, right? Like, you're going to be, I don't know, you're in real estate, like, there's like a real estate tribe that I see,
Right.
like, girl boss, real estate agent,
Yes.
and all, my wine and my real estate, right?
Oh
So,
God. Yeah. I'm a
like,
beer girl.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, we do have things that we enjoy in society, right? Like, whatever, you want to be a
Yes.
part of a group of like-minded people and hang out with them. And that's awesome. That's fine. That's how you build friendships and communities and things like that. So for me, originally, when I saw MAGA, I was like, well, this is like people that maybe felt like they hadn't been heard or seen,
Mhm.
coming together and,
I
and
think you nailed it though, that people that associate their being and their existence with things and idolizing other people, they haven't been seen or heard.
yeah, yeah. And but then it tends to get creepy. Like
Yes,
your bumper sticker,
a
right? Like,
little obsessive.
yeah. Like when we drive past that guy's house, I'm like, gosh, he has new signs out today, and Kamala's the devil, and
Oh yeah, that's a little dramatic.
he's not a great artist, but he's got like devil horns, and he really isn't. And at that point it's like creepy,
Yes.
like, cool, go to rallies, wear your shirts and all this other stuff. But it's like
Don't go to rallies.
when somebody is like getting like Trump tattooed on them,
Like,
and
that's
he really gives
insanity.
two shits about you and your tattoo. Like, come on, man, he's running for all right. No.
I know. And they're all liars. All of them.
Yeah.
I I don't know. Jay and Jen for president.
No, that
I told you I'd be VP.
yeah, I see. I like to raise women, man. So you can be president if you want it.
Yeah, I'm okay. You
I
can
mean,
get shot at, not me.
I just it's kind of double work for me because I have to mansplain everything. Like,
Oh God.
I'd be like, what Jen really meant to say. So what Jen?
Yes.
No,
Yes. But at least they would understand what's coming out of my mouth and what I'm saying.
this is true. This
So,
is true. Well, yeah, I would go after the bloat. I would do that, and you know, efficiency, streamline, raise the bar. I say that, but then I don't know the political machine. I might get in there, say all those things, and have real power come at me from areas that I don't even know, going, yeah, that's pretty funny, President Jay.
right.
Go
Right.
shake hands in Europe for a while
Yeah.
we're making
It's
our money.
it will continue well past our time.
Yeah.
Um,
I have something that I want to get your take on.
okay.
It's pretty serious. I've been thinking about it all week. Um,
Yes, size does matter, Jay. I've told you this.
Krispy Kreme or Dunkin' Donuts? Which,
Dunkin' Donuts.
okay. Damn, I thought we would disagree on something.
Yeah, they have the best coffee,
They
and
do.
they've been around. And God, Owen and I were just talking about this. Apparently, they were more prevalent up north,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's where my parents always went. And I remember going as a child after church. They had those swivel seats, and of course, I'd be the annoying kid running up and down, get after my donut rush hit,
Mm-hmm.
swiveling the seats. But yeah, I prefer that. Everybody loves Krispy Kreme for some reason.
Well, it's the home is in our backyard, right? Like where they
Yeah.
started. And yeah, a couple weeks ago, we have a Dunkin' right down the road from us. We go there every time we head to Burlington. Like that's our little thing before we go see dad and mom and stuff. And my Ewok looking smelly sister sometimes. But then I had some
Terrible.
Krispy Kreme the other day, and I was like, my God, like I'm well controlled diabetic, and that day I wasn't. Like I just had one donut, and it was
Oh,
so sweet. But I thought we would debate on this. I thought
no,
I pegged you as a
sorry.
Krispy Kreme. Got your little hat on when you go, and it says hot.
When Olivia, I can't remember the name of it, but she had to wear that style hat at military school, and they would all
Yeah,
call it the Krispy Kreme hat, and they
there is
hated
a
them.
really bad name for that in the military.
Oh, say it, say it.
No,
Say the weird thing.
it's C word
Okay,
cap. C word cap.
cunt cap.
Yep, yep, you said it.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
I can see, no pun intended,
Yeah.
why it would be that way. Because
Uh-huh.
the folds at the top.
Uh-huh. And most guys still can't find the tip.
Oh no, they can't. They
They
have a
don't know
really
the
hard time
they
putting it
don't know.
on and keeping it on,
You're
and folding it correctly.
like, hey, bro, that's not the front.
Yeah, that's right.
You
Putting it
missed
on
you
backwards.
missed the
Yes.
spot again. You don't
Yep.
know where to look, do you?
What's the proper name of those hats? Do you know?
I'd have to go back and
Okay.
I didn't I only wore that in basic training. After that I wore like uh field hat and then eventually we went to berets.
Okay. Ooh, sexy.
I still
Yeah. Olivia will get out of the car and I'm like, honey, don't forget your Krispy Kreme hat.
now you know what to call it.
Um,
Now you know what to call it. Hey, you left your keys back here. Oh, that
boy,
just
did
creeped
she
me
come
out.
back from military school with a dirty mouth. My goodness.
That's
Holy cow.
that is ingrained.
Ooh.
Yeah.
She would say stuff and I'd say, Olivia, watch your mouth. Mom, I got a military school. I've learned a lot through it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we, Charlotte's also a veteran, right? So
Yes.
we definitely just roll with our language like it's nothing. When Jordan was born, we were like, we have to be careful. Like we have to, we don't want. And then eventually we just gave up.
Yes.
Um, and we realized at a young age she was pretty mature. She will not say a cuss word to this day. I've never heard her cuss,
You are
and we
kidding
will
me.
try to get her to.
Oh,
Like if she says something that sounds like like oh I need to go sit, I'll be like you gonna go shit.
it's because you guys cuss so much. What is it? Liv Tyler was talking about her father, Steven Tyler, and she was like, he's the biggest whore and does all drinks and
Mhm.
drugs. And she's like, no kid wants to be like their parent when they're growing up. So I'm total opposite.
Good, good. Liv Tyler, yeah, I used to have a crush on her.
But she's a beauty.
She is a beauty. Yeah, she is a beauty. Yeah.
Who's
So,
on your list?
hmm?
Who's on your free list?
Kristen Bell.
Oh, is she the real tiny one?
She's the blonde.
Yes.
Married to that
She,
jackass.
I can't believe I'm confessing this in our podcast, but I started watching a rom-com and I think she's in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. Nobody wants this. It was great. And she was in Frozen, right?
There's, I don't know about that,
Just-
but
no,
do I look like I watch Frozen? Yo, I'm
not
I'm 60% black.
you said you were 60% white the other night when I said you said
Hold on.
charcuterie board. And I said, how white are you?
How do you not like a charcuterie board?
They're fancy Lunchables. I don't like putting on airs. So you like wine and charcuterie board and skydiving. That's how white you are.
I don't like skydiving.
Yeah,
I would
I'm
never.
white, but I'm not that white.
Oh shit, you're right. I just pulled up my 23andMe. I'm 60% European.
Yep.
Well, that gives me the right to enjoy my charcuterie board and wine.
Charcuterie board. Have you heard that where people don't know how to pronounce it and they call
Here's
it
the
charcuterie?
now here's something interesting, right? You think about my family
I'll
line.
be the judge of that.
We, the European side,
Yes.
we've done all the genealogy there for the most part. We know how we came here and all that stuff. Obviously, the black side came non-voluntarily, but as I look at all the results, the one thing that really I find surprising is that I am 0.6% Southeast Asian Indonesian.
What?
So I've often wondered either somebody diddled around at some point
Diddled.
in our or did that ship get really lost? Like I wish I could have a time machine just to see like, oh,
They didn't have Garmin back then.
this is the Thai guy who slept with the
Oh,
African
God.
or hey, it could be on the white
No
side.
idea what I am. I don't do 23andMe.
You're white.
Well, I don't want my DNA in a bank. No, thank you.
It's already there.
Yeah, I know.
You
I
blood.
donated my placenta after Olivia to Duke Hospital.
Ah,
And as I was checking out of the hospital, the nurse said, Jennifer Morris, I heard all about your placenta. And I thought, wow, that is not a sentence you hear every day.
that's
And it has to pass all these tests.
oh
So,
really?
and if it's good enough, they send it to Duke and do stem cell research.
Stem cell research. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's actually really good. I mean, I
And, you
think
know, my dad died of leukemia, so it
yeah.
it's on file if ever need be, apparently.
Your
I'm big
stories.
placentas.
I have to tell you, I appreciate the nice sentiment and comments you said earlier, but your messages around your dad,
Yeah.
it really inspired me. I remember a couple years ago, several years ago, we've been chatting for a long time now.
Oh yeah.
You put something about your dad, and that day, I can't remember. I had something like, oh, I should work on this, I should work on that. And Jordan wasn't doing anything, and I was like, no, I need to go spend time with Jordan. Like we probably played video games or did something, but like it's just a great reminder because so I always thought about is when you every year when you post is that you leave a lasting legacy, with the people around you. And even though you were youngish, right? Like there's a lasting legacy there. And I was like, what legacy am I leaving with my daughter? Kind of
I
thing.
love that. What a great dad you are, though, to actually think that.
I'm sure hopefully there's a lot, they're like, but dads get a bad rap, man.
No, I'm
Um,
dating someone who thinks that
thinks he's a bad,
about his legacy.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that I think that separates the boys from the men.
Well, hopefully later on this week, if you want to come out, if you're in the Raleigh,
Yes. By the campfire.
I'm gonna have that thing blazing. I'm
It
picking
sounds like a lot of fun. I think that's the plan.
that would be awesome. That'd be awesome. Um, I don't want to lose sight of your placenta though.
Oh, okay. I think we should probably end the podcast on that note. I'm going to leave you with that thought.
Well,
I did not eat it with a side of fava beans, you should know.
so Charlotte gave me a book when she was pregnant, and
Okay.
it was the whole like man's guide to pregnancy or something, right? And I was like, whatever. Like I didn't read the book,
Of
and
course you did.
we 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 got tickets earlier in the day. Somebody had given me tickets to box seats at what was then the new stadium for basketball,
Okay. PNC?
PNC.
Yeah.
Yeah, now Lenovo Center.
Excuse
And
me.
I was so excited. I came home and I'm like, hey, we got tickets to this thing. Like, they let me leave work early so that we could get ready. And she's excited. And we're walking out the front door. And she was like, oh, I think I peed. She was very pregnant. She
Uh-huh.
was like, she goes, I think I peed a little.
Oh boy. You know what that
And
was.
I'm looking, and I'm like, you didn't pee a little. You peed a
And
lot.
that's not pee.
And then we weren't connecting at that time, right? She wasn't,
Right.
she was like, I have to go change. And I'm like, woman, like, I hear they have free food. Like, we got to go, right? Like,
Right.
we got to go. And so she makes it down the hall and she starts cramping up.
Oh boy.
And she's like, okay, that was my water break, all stuff, right? So then I remember having a conversation with somebody, and they were like, "Well, once that happens, it could still be like another day. It could be that, like cramps will kind of come and
Yeah.
go, more intense,
Especially for your first.
and all this other stuff, right?" And so she
Like, let's go
stops
to
cramping.
PNC.
She stops cramping, and I'm like, "You okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm feeling better." I'm like, "Get dressed, let's go."
Right.
And she's on it. She's with it, right? She wants to do this, right? So so she starts getting dressed. She comes back down, and then just like boom, contraction, contraction, contraction.
Oh gosh.
And we had to have Jordan at UNC because we were still covered under TRICARE. And we lived in Raleigh at the time. And of all things, that night there was a snowstorm.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, January 7th. So how long of a ride is that for you?
It
35, 40 minutes? But in
about
a
40
snowstorm.
minutes, but in a snowstorm, right?
Yeah.
I had a four-wheel drive, and I'm doing my best. And she is starting to like in the front,
Oh God.
it's like contraction, contraction, contraction. And she looks at me, she goes, "You read the book, right?" Because I'm having
Sure,
the,
honey.
and I was like, uh, I'm looking at the signs and it's like, oh my God, we're basically out of Raleigh and we still have like 40 minutes to go.
So were you
So
trained to deliver a baby in the military?
hell no. So, so I'm like, I'm trying to calm her down. I'm like, it'll be okay. And I'm trying not to slide off the side of the road.
Right.
I'm like, of all times to not have police on the street, like I want to see a cop flag them,
Yes.
be like,
For once.
take her or whatever we can do to go faster, right? Like how do I get out of this? And all I could think during that time, as after she said, "Did you read the book?" She didn't notice that I didn't respond. Is, well, the movies say you need clean towels and hot water. Well, I don't have that in here. Like I'm literally like clean towels, hot water, like all this other stuff. And anyway, we get to the hospital, and they put her in the room, and then they ignored us like for a while. And so I came out. I'm like, she keeps going to the bathroom, and she keeps saying like she's feeling something, right? And
Right.
there, and literally the nurse is like, rolls her eyes at me, and she goes, it looks at her, the other nurse, she goes, typical dad, like
Gosh.
they told me to calm down and all this other stuff, right? And I was like, no, I'm not calming down until somebody comes and does something. And another nurse in the corner goes,
Yeah.
fine, I'll do it. It goes in there, checks her, runs out and goes, I need everybody in here right now. Well, the doctor was still at home saying, call me when, I need to come in, not thinking there's a snowstorm. So she's only 20 minutes away.
Oh my
They're
gosh.
setting the room up. Like you could tell the panic, right? They're setting the room up, and the nurse goes, this baby's coming.
Oh gosh.
Somebody goes, well, how far is the doctor? Doctor's like, I'm still like half an hour out because I'm having to go slow and all this other stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And everybody's just standing around. And I was like, well, can somebody get in there and, ready,
Rick, get
ready
in there.
to do what you
Thanks,
do?
honey.
Like, I'm like, there's like 8 nurses in here. And like, no, no liability. We can't do it. I'm like, so do I have to do this? And so I'm like holding her hand and, going down there and looking at him like, I don't want to see this, but I will do this. And
And
then
it is primal. As soon as you need to push, a woman knows when it's time to push.
that's what she kept
It's
saying.
like there's no holding it back. It's time. The baby's
Yeah.
coming.
The
Yeah.
great thing is this was still our very foul mouth period of our lives. And she starts yelling, this is why you fuckers needed to listen to my husband. I'm going to have this baby on. The baby's going to fall on the floor. I'm going to kill everybody in here. I mean, she is
Oh, I
just,
bet they hear all kinds of shit in the labor and delivery room.
woo, boy, I never heard her. And I was like, I told y'all, she's going to whip your asses. Like,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
luckily, the doctor comes in and, is like, still in her clothes, grabs some gloves and
Oh,
is like, okay, you got to push. And I remember Charlotte looking over and she goes, aren't you gonna, wasn't I supposed to have like a shot in the back or something? Like I'm
hey,
feeling
baby.
everything. And she was like, we don't have time. And so
Oh my
she had a
goodness.
fully natural birth.
So how long from the time you wanted to go to PNC?
6 hours, less than 6 hours.
Oh my gosh, for your first. That's
Yeah.
wildly fast.
Right, right. And my other kids, I don't know because they're all over the world. So I don't know how
Yeah.
the pregnancies went, but
Snake cannon.
yeah. But yeah, so she did natural. And then, so, luckily everything was fine. They didn't even have the heater thing on, right? So they wrapped Jordan up and they handed her to me. And like, they still got the umbilical cord and all that other stuff. And I'm just sitting there and I'm sitting there. And then, so I didn't read the book. I didn't know about the placenta. I didn't know.
You had no idea.
I did. So I'm sitting there and I'm holding Jordan.
Oh, I bet that was a horror movie.
And first of all, it didn't look like babies on TV.
No.
I was like, why does she have hair down to her eyebrows? We're gonna have to sort this out, but she seems healthy, but we are gonna have to cosmetically do something,
Yes.
right?
Oh, they are little aliens when they
Yeah, I was like, yeah,
awful.
it's like when people take those newborn pictures and they're like, look at my beautiful baby. Oh,
Yeah.
bro, give it 24 hours. Give it 24 hours so the head goes back
Oh
and
yeah, the swelling. Oh, and they're all slimy,
oh,
covered in that
oh God,
cheese.
yeah.
Ugh.
So I'm sitting there, everybody's just kind of talking, and I'm like, okay, we're good. And then flop up.
Oh my God.
And I
Think
said,
it was a
what
twin?
the F is that? I said, is that a twin?
Okay, I need to hear that noise again. What kind of noise did it make?
Like it just into this box. And they were like, no, that's the placenta. That's the afterbirth, blah, 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 blah. And at that point, my poor,
The Charlotte was like, you never read the book.
she's just, all the relief. And then, of course, me under stress, I start joking. So they're,
Yes.
sewing her up and everything. And I'm like, hey, doc, can you add a couple extra, stitches in there?
Why does every guy say that? I mean, I personally asked for extra stitches, but
Do I have to
they're like,
explain?
we can, but
Do I really need to explain it? Yeah. So that was so you have your placenta story and I wanted to share mine.
That's awesome.
I don't
Okay.
know where it went. I don't know.
Welcome to our placenta podcast, everyone.
Oh, this is so bad. What's really, really bad is I have to listen to it again.
I know when you edit it, but please, we implore you. We really want to retire from our podcast, so please subscribe and follow and share with your friends and family.
Yes. Now, in all honesty, gosh, I should have said this at the beginning. Thank you. Like we had over 100 people listen to the first episode.
That is
So many
great.
people messaged us. We're just wanting to have fun, have conversations, maybe, I don't know,
We're gonna
change
have to have guests
talk.
soon.
Oh yeah, we have several people that want to be guests. So here's the thing about guests, and we'll roll this out later, but if you want to be a guest on the podcast, you sign up for our Patreon platinum level, which is $15.99 a month,
Oh yeah.
and you get free access to behind the scenes, and then and so on and so forth. And we can also raffle off I don't know, a mug that says "You're not special."
That or Blanta. It's time to do some merch. And
Oh man,
I think
Blanta.
we should start the next podcast with You're Not Special. We'll start off just spicy.
Well, because we'll want to explain the fact that nobody's special.
That was all I was trying to say. Gosh.
I know.
Well, that's why we're friends.
On that note, I think we've been talking for an hour. On that note, we will leave everybody with the cliffhanger of episode 3 of explaining why you as a listener, me as a speaker, and you as my BP ain't special.
You ain't special. Bye, love. Have a wonderful week.
You too.
I had fun.
All right.